It's another little interesting spin when you do something for 27 years. At the beginning, it's the owner of the brewery showing up and bringing their beer and talking about their beer with people.
Yeah, I read some article. Sam Calagione talked to him about making a mushroom beer specifically for this.
Really?
Yeah, he used his chicory stout, and we sent him a giant thing of portobello powder from Phillips Mushrooms in Kennett.
That's so cool.
And they used it in the beer.
How did that beer turn out?
It was you could tell. It had some earth, like a little earthiness to it.
Stout.
Well, I think because it was a portobello too, like a darker mushroom. I don't recall if it was even because it was powder, if it was a little grainy or from that, but no, it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, at the Mushroom Festival, there's a vendor's mushroom ice cream. That's actually good. I like it.
Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always by Evan Blum. And tonight we have on Jeff Norman. I'm sorry. I literally just asked you.
Sorry.
Founder of Kennett Brewfest. So we can get into, how you kind of founded Kennett Brewfest, also founder of Kennett Winterfest.
Correct.
And then also we will talk about the Ales for ALS and kind of everything that's happening in kind of Kennett Square beer world.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on. And Kennett Square Brewfest is, 28 years old at this point?
This October, I think it's going to be the 4th, either the 4th or the 11th. I'm pretty sure it's going to be October 4th, and it'll be the 5th. 5th is a Saturday?
Yes, October. I mean, that's what your poster says.
Oh, that's last year's.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Yeah,
I'm still not in 2025 yet.
That's last year's poster. So
Okay.
I believe it's October 4th. 28th year.
Okay.
And then Winterfest is always the last Saturday in February, so that's coming up February 22nd.
Cool.
And that's the 13th year for that festival.
Cool, and I will be pouring my beer at Winterfest. It'll be my first beer festival, so I'm looking forward to it.
That's what we love, brand new people. Yeah.
Cool, so Brewfest, Kennett Brewfest, one of the biggest brewfests in the area. Probably the biggest brewfest, or one of the earliest brewfests on the East Coast. Can you give kind of a history about how that started and what was the kind of reasoning for that?
Sure. So in the 90s, I was on Kennett Square Borough Council, so I was involved in local government. I got off of that and was one of the original board members of an organization called the Kennett Square Revitalization Task Force. And like a lot of local small towns and boroughs, we were like in the midst of places like Walmart invading, and then by the same token, we're trying to revitalize our downtown, and media's trying to do it, and Phoenixville's trying to do it, and everyone's trying to do it. So, it became obvious, other than membership of the retailers and things, that we needed to find a way to fund the goal of that organization, which was mostly like an economic, business-driven engine type organization for the town. So we needed a way to try to raise some money. And
throw a party.
Kind of. And I had gone to several of the Stoudts great Eastern Invitational Beer Fests in Lancaster County in Adamstown at Stoudts Brewery. And
probably the first beer fest in the whole area.
I would guess, because I think I went to those in 1990.
Wow.
91, 92, somewhere in that range. Yeah. And they did it a couple times a year. Smaller than what we are now, but it was around 25 breweries and like a buffet meal. And it was a single ticket to get in and unlimited tastings. And I just thought, that was such a good time and such a great model. Maybe we can do something like that. So that was our first approach. The good news was we already have established in Kennett Square, the mushroom capital of the world, the Mushroom Festival.
Yep.
So that's always the weekend after Labor Day, and we asked them if we could set up this new idea as part of it, because we knew there'd be a building crowd. So they said yes, miraculously. And they gave us an area right off of the main drag in Kennett. And so we had like 12 breweries the first year. It was a lot of the very current startups, Victory, Iron Hill, Sly Fox, Yards.
All small places.
Yeah.
Dock Street,
Yeah,
probably.
Dock Street as well. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct. And then we sprinkled in, Stoudts, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we sprinkled in some imported beer because we just needed more volume of beer. So, and we didn't have a food component because there's 8 million vendors doing food at the Mushroom Festival. But we did treat it as a bought ticket to come in, unlimited tastings. And it didn't go that well. And for various reasons. No one knew what craft beer was. So that was an issue.
Yeah.
And it would have been better at the beginning to do like a tasting token because some people would have come in, but they were still pushing strollers around for the day and that kind of stuff. So they just weren't going to commit the time. So we had about 100 people maybe. So I was kind of discouraged. And I just told the organization, well, we'll do year 2. And if year 2 is like year 1, there won't be a year 3. And now there's going to be a year 28. So it started to go better.
Yeah, something worked out.
Yeah.
What changed in that year and that year?
Well, so the following year, I still thought the format was the right thing to do, even though we were still at the Mushroom Festival. And we lowered the ticket price
Okay.
because I was like, we just got to get people in. We moved the location, still part of the festival, but at a slightly better location, actually, that they gave us. And it had, instead of being just on the street, it had a parking lot component with it downtown in Kennett. So we could kind of make this loop. And we had about 400 people.
Yeah.
And we held it at that location on Broad Street with that parking lot for like at least 2 more years. And we were up to like 750 people.
Oh,
That's a
wow.
legitimate
Yeah.
big event.
Yeah. And I thought that'll probably be it, right?
Yeah.
700 people. That's pretty good. Make a decent amount of money. And our current location, which is on South Broad Street in Kennett Square, a much better location, actually. Maybe I should say why we're at that location. After like the 4th year, Mushroom Festival kicked us out.
It was too much.
Yeah, it was like you have too many people. The mix is what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe you should do this somewhere else at some other time.
Yeah.
Which was good, and that's how it got pushed from early September to early October. It was like great, another opportunity to bring a lot of people into the borough of Kennett Square.
Yeah,
so,
it's almost like 1 month away from each other. You're bringing thousands of people now into
Yeah.
Kennett Square.
yeah. So where I thought that 750 would be great, it's been as high as 3,500
Wow.
to almost, probably with everybody, with brewers and volunteers and everyone. We've certainly had 4,000 people on the
Wow.
site. It's smaller now, post-COVID,
Yeah.
sort of on purpose.
Yeah.
And for various other reasons, which I know why you guys are in the business you're in.
Yeah.
So
So what? How many brewers are coming to these events now?
so this past October, we had about 85. I've had 100
Okay.
pre-COVID. Post-COVID, we've held somewhere in the 80 to 85 range, and for the Winterfest, we have about 60. But from an attendance standpoint, that event's probably about half size.
Yeah.
Again, on purpose.
Definitely.
Like I didn't want to mimic everything about the successful fest. I wanted to take all the best parts of a successful festival, but make it a little more intimate. So,
Definitely.
so
So what? What has changed? Though, have Beer Fest from 1998. How have they transitioned from is their food, the entertainment, the samples, what do you think has changed over the years? I mean, it's 28 years. I imagine some things have evolved.
we pretty much follow the same drinking format.
Okay.
I mean, it's a 2-ounce sample.
Yeah.
It's hard to, And we set it at 2 because most people get 4. Yeah, I mean, it's like a pour is a pour. It's hard
Yeah.
but I spend most of my day on the day of when we have the festival just telling brewers try to stay on 2 ounces.
Yeah.
For all
Spread out the
the
love.
various reasons, but also I can't have you run out in the middle of the event because you're stuck.
Yeah.
You're not getting out. So, but yeah, so we evolved with music. For that first couple years, again, like I mentioned, your ticket, we had a vendor come in and you were fed. We got away from that, and now we have one sort of major food vendor that handles a large portion, and they have a big setup, and then we probably have about 10 food trucks now
Cool.
along with that.
Cool.
Where everyone's on their own, and we have a music stage for the day. So we have a
Different
couple
bands come
acts.
through.
So and that's evolving too, just based on certain demographics and things. So we're probably going to change that up a little bit. I'm very interested in what you guys do because I think everyone across the spectrum of festivals, breweries themselves, I mean, we're all starting to see a bit of the crunch of what's going on. So, yeah, we have various vendors. Some are
they all
beer
local?
related products. Hot Sauce Guy.
Is it all local, Kennett?
Local, probably local tri-state,
Local-ish, okay.
but not all local to Kennett. If you are a Kennett vendor and you want to be at our event, I better be careful what I say. I think we waive the vendor fee for an actual borough business
Okay.
that wants to, and then the other vendors pay a fee
Got it.
to attend. The biggest change to the formula was about year 7 when we introduced our connoisseur session. So, sort of chugging along for 6 years, and I was just like, I think it needs something. Like something has to happen. And so I decided we're going to do this pre-session to the regular
like a
session.
VIP sec.
Yeah,
session.
I hate that word.
All right.
Well, and you brewers use it all the time, so I'll get that out there to the public. It started out as being themed. So, like the first year, I had, I believe, maybe 20 breweries in this connoisseur session and like 250 tickets, and it was an hour and a half before the regular session, and it was all Belgian beer.
Wow.
Okay.
So everyone local brewing a Belgian beer had the opportunity to be in. And it was all breweries. Like I wasn't substituting in, anything from Monks or anything like that, or Duval or whatever. It was legitimately
People were making local brewers
that.
making.
Then, and one year we never did a whole thing, but some of the brewers started asking me, and like we got some firkins introduced. So maybe of those 20 breweries, I had like 5 brought the style that we were talking about being, but they brought a firkin of it instead of just a keg of it. And
Nice.
we ran the gamut of, high ABV beers, barrel-aged beers. It just got, well, number one, it grew. So right now, like of my 85 breweries, 40 of them are in the connoisseur session.
That's cool.
They all want to be in it.
Yeah.
And now you win an award. So the people vote for the best of connoisseur, and the trophy is actually a tap handle that we produce.
Oh,
so
that's
I have
cool.
like local artisan makes. So it's kind of like a useful trophy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. So whoever wins it, when they come back the next year, they're all pulling that thing. They bring their tap handle along.
Nice.
So it's cool. And it just got too hard to keep it as a theme. So right now, I just have to have a specialty beer.
Okay.
And the reason I hate VIP is because it started getting mimicked, which is a nice form of flattery, right? At other festivals. But what it really was is you got in an hour early.
Yeah.
You just
so
pay
that
twice as
you
much money.
so that you could taste beers first
Yeah.
and not stand in line. So there was nothing really special about it other
Yeah.
than an early attendance. But that got labeled by everyone as their VIP ticket.
Yeah.
So I'm not a VIP ticket. I'm a connoisseur ticket. So
Yeah.
that's
It's different than that.
it's different. It's definitely different. And that, to this day, though, that's one part of the beer fest industry, or at least my part of it,
Yep.
that sells out like a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like 450 tickets.
Wow.
Have you told like what this year's specialty style is gonna be?
No, we don't do styles anymore. I just say you have to give me a one-off beer
Gotcha.
or something that's a brand new release.
Bring your special beer.
It could be
Everyone
a
needs to do
brand new
that.
release beer, that no one's had, and brewers have been really cool to me. They're like, this beer is going to come out on Monday, but we're going to serve it Saturday, at your event. So
Nice.
stuff like that
Get
happens.
a pre-taste.
So it's really it's that part of it's been good, and we'll continue to do that. So that in the winter, I know I kind of like that. So in the winter, because there's a lot less brewers, we do what we call a DEF CON tasting, which is kind of a play on DEF CON 1, like we call it beer preparedness.
Yeah.
Like nuclear war, but
Yeah.
but with beer. So whoever wins the connoisseur in the fall gets to be an exclusive brewer in the DEF CON tent, which is heated, and we do provide lunch, and that's like 100 tickets. That's it.
Yeah.
And the brewers have been phenomenal. I mean, they bring like 6 beers to it, and just really cool stuff. And
Yeah, and everyone gets to try it. Like you get to be
yeah,
belle of the
yeah,
ball.
yeah. So everyone gets a little taste of that, and so that's kind of like the mini connoisseur to the Winterfest, like the connoisseur is to the Brewfest.
Nice.
So it's another little sort of perk.
And you set this up because you were trying to raise money. For now, it's Kennett Collective, right?
Kennett Collaborative, that's
Kennett
correct. Yeah,
Collaborative.
it's all a 501c3 nonprofit, and it was from day one.
And you are a part of that, but was it you were basically you were the individual that was like kind of driving or leading the Brewfest portion of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% a volunteer for
Okay.
these 2 events, so I'm not an employee of Kennett Collaborative.
Yeah.
They do have employees, and these 2 events really handle almost 50% of the budget of Kennett Collaborative, so they're very important.
And you guys have raised what I've saw on hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years for this.
I'm not really supposed to say, but
Okay.
it has 2 commas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I will say, in like the best years pre-COVID, just the Brewfest would
Yeah.
probably net $135,000.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And I mean, Kennett
So-
is a beautiful small little town, and you guys have like you said, like you guys
Yeah,
set
I
this
mean,
up to like keep it that way.
yeah, this works for it. I mean, the money that comes from this helps pay for the whole Christmas setup downtown,
That's amazing.
Memorial Day parade. We have a farmers market that we help fund. There's a beautification group in downtown Kennett Square with, we have giant planters, and there's just always flowers blooming and stuff in town, and so we do that. But the organization also has a business packet for new businesses to help them navigate the borough government and what they have to do. We've had some facade grants. When a certain building might have been like, they really not like major construction things, but repainting and doing
Yeah.
a couple repairs, maybe a new entry door, that kind of stuff. So we provide some monies for new businesses to do that sort of thing as well. So
Nice.
That's so cool. What made you like think beer back then, like to do the festival, or
I like the beer.
you like beer? That's what I was kind of going for.
Was there any breweries?
Yeah.
Were there
I
any
mean,
breweries-
I was drinking craft beer.
Yeah.
My wife and I were in San Francisco in like 1992, and I just thought Sierra Nevada Pale Ale was the best thing in the world
Yeah.
at that point, and it kind of was,
Yeah.
or in the United States
Still
anyway. So, and Anchor, and
Yeah.
those types of things where West Coast people were legitimately brewing craft beer in the 80s.
Yeah. And were there any craft breweries in Kennett? I mean, I know Chester County, like Victory was there when you guys first started, but they were only a couple years old at that point. Sly Fox was only a couple years old. Like,
Yeah, we didn't have anyone in town until Victory opened.
just the brew pub right there.
Yeah, the brew pub, and then Kennett Brewing Company opened like a month and a half later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They've been around that long.
Yeah, but they just closed actually
Did not know
a
that.
few months ago. Yeah,
Wow.
and then Braylock.
Yeah, Braylock's
Yeah,
great stuff.
Followed them. So,
Thanks for bringing that in.
yeah, I think I'll pour myself a little bit. Am I allowed to do that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So you have the Braylock in. So this is the ALS for ALS beer.
Correct.
Can you talk? I mean, you are involved with that, but can you talk about like what ALS for ALS is, and like from my perspective, it's like you'll get into what it is, but like it's one of the few beers. I forget what the term for this is. Like breweries come around like brew special beers for like these different organizations, and it's like one of the few ones in the country that is around every year. And from my perspective, I think this is one of the larger ones, but I think it's because you kind of put it on the map around here.
Yeah, the participation came
Yeah.
up greatly when I got involved for 2023. And it's hard for that organization. The really interesting news is they just had some social media posts. There is a brewery doing an Ales for ALS beer in all 50 states in 2024.
Wow, that's cool.
And that was not the case. So, and I don't really have any involvement other than the sort of the Mid-Atlantic or tri-state area. But I got involved because my sister was diagnosed with ALS in 2020. And so you start doing all the research, of the disease and everything else. And I'll try to be succinct, but the average ALS patient probably has $2 million in medical expense, depending on how long you live,
Yeah.
because everyone dies.
Yeah.
So there's no cure for ALS. But usually individual families bear like between 10 and 15% of that cost. So a step back from getting involved with this, I'm sure you guys remember the Ice Bucket Challenge
Yeah.
for ALS.
Yep.
So I wanted to do something directly for my sister. So in the summer, basically, of 2020, my wife was my videographer. Hi, Lori. You can edit if you need to. And I went around to local breweries who agreed to do it and let them pour beer over my head.
That's fun.
Their beer.
Yeah.
And unlike the Ice Bucket Challenge, where I would have asked both of you guys to donate money and do it, and then you would have three friends, that almost like a pyramid effect.
Yeah.
I knew something like that wouldn't work, so we set up a GoFundMe page, and I just told people, if you like the videos, you think they're funny, whatever it is, you can go to my sister's GoFundMe page, and if you're so inclined, you can make a donation. If you like beer, whatever drives you. And we raised about $50,000
Wow.
directly for my sisters and her family.
Wow. That's great.
So right before she passed, she just told me that she hoped I would continue somehow to help people the way I tried to help her.
Yeah.
And fortuitously, like at the exact same time almost, the owners of Brew Gentlemen told me about Ales for ALS, and that they'd been doing a beer for a couple years. So I contacted Ales for ALS and got involved. And for a little bit more background to that, so what happens in this program, you know who they are, Richie,
Yeah.
Yakima Chief, hops in Washington State. There are two types of ALS, familial, which there's a gene connection, and then what they just call sporadic or circumstantial. No one knows why you get ALS. Like that was my sister. And that's like 95%. So the gene component's small. But they have like 8 family members with ALS. Or 8 total in their across their total family. And so they do a special hop blend every year, and they donate it.
Yeah, it's them and like Lorraine Farms or something.
I think so. Yeah. So anyone who wants to be involved with Ales for ALS will get free hops and get as much as you want.
Yeah, every brewery should do it. I mean, you're getting the most expensive part of the recipe. You're getting it for free, and then you have to donate $1 per beer. It's like it's a great deal for everybody. Like everybody wins in this. I don't know.
Absolutely. I think so. My initial involvement was early in 23, and I think the brewers thought like I needed the beer right away from them.
Yeah,
and they were just like, that's impossible.
Yeah,
and I was like, you can brew it any time in your brewing schedule.
Yeah.
So if you want to brew this beer, and Yakima will hold your hops, refrigerated for you. They'll send them to you when you
Whenever
make
you
the
need
contact and need them. So
Yeah.
so I've had a bunch now, or try to schedule to have the beer ready for Brewfest in October. But we've had some that are ready to drink as early as February. They jump right on it right away.
No, and it's great hops. So
yeah, it's always it's a blend of like, I think this past year was 5, the year before was 7, and I actually have the 2025 hop blend, but I've been told don't release it to anybody yet, so because they haven't even released it. I'm no chemist and I don't really understand the process. I just run beer festivals, but when it comes out, it's like 4 of the 7 hops have a number. They don't have a name yet.
Yeah.
They're like experimental.
But those are good ones. They're gonna get named eventually. But I think it's cool, like places like, I don't know how Braylock does it specifically, but like if you just like treat it like almost like a single hop IPA, where you just like brew the same beer, and then every year you're just using the same new blend every year, then you kind of get this like fresh new hop that they're
and the creativity is amazing. I mean, Richie, you might get it, and you might say you need 22 pounds. That seems 11 pounds is the magic hop number. I learned that. And you might use 20% of it in the boil. And you might use the whole 80 to dry hop it.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it's all over the place. Some brewers have added other hops to it.
Yep.
Just because they thought it would do something interesting. I mean, they tested, the hop blend, looked at it, did all the math they have to do about it, and said, well, we're going to add a little
bit of this,
mosaic to it or something to round it out, or whatever. So I got involved, and in 2022, between Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, there were 6 breweries doing Ales for ALS. So I contacted the head of Ales for ALS, and I'm like, you don't know me, I gave him the story of my sister, and I said, and then I told him about my beer festivals, and I said, I think I can help you. And he's like, cool. So, and we become good friends, actually. But, so I said, we can do better than this. So I started contacting everybody, and they knew about my sister, and we got that number from 6 to like 34 in 2023. In 2024, it's holding around the same. Some people have dropped out of it and are going to come back in 2025 just because they like, for a major fundraiser, they just said, we're going to do something different this year, and then we'll get back in or whatever. So, so we're in sort of the mid-30s right now. I'd really like to get to 50. I'm sure Space Cadet will be in as soon as they can gear up in size.
No, it will be. You say free hops, I'm in. But
I mean, that's the selling point. Absolutely. Yeah.
At Wazak Inc., they keep your water clean, safe, and flowing at its best. From local breweries to busy distilleries, they're proud to serve over 20 spots across New Jersey, New York, and PA with top-tier water treatment that's affordable and built to last. Wazak know that every brewery has unique needs, so they tailor boiler treatment plans that keep equipment running smoothly and efficiently. And for them, it's not just about water. It's about delivering safety, satisfaction, and reliability to every client. So ready to elevate your water quality? Connect with Wazak Inc. today and let them get your system to its peak performance.
When did it start? Like,
That's a really great question, and I don't know the answer of what the first year of. But I knew when in 2022, when I talked to Brew Gentlemen, that they had been making.
They're the ones are they in Pittsburgh?
Braddock, yeah, just
Okay.
outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
If they were doing it already for like 3 years,
Okay.
and I don't know if they didn't tell me if they got in on the inception of when it was started. But it's international. I got a brewery in St. Croix to do it. Leatherback, their name is. Their head brewer worked at Sly Fox.
Nice.
So Sly Fox had done it, and my contact at Sly Fox, I vacation on St. John
Yeah.
every June,
Yeah.
and I drink Leatherback when I go down there, and I was like, who can I contact? And they were in. They were like, yeah, we'll do it. It's like really cool. So I wish I could have made a special trip to taste it when it came out. But
What I was trying to say is like part of craft beer industry is like giving back, and like what you're doing with the Brewfest and Winterfest, where you're raising money to like help out the community, and like the Ales for ALS beer or the Pink Boots blend, or the Maui beer or the Black is Beautiful, like all these beers or all these like different things. I know the Log Jamming, they raise money, like all that money is donated. It seems that like part of craft beer is the community of craft beer.
I mean,
giving back.
I'm immersed in it deeply because of the festivals and because of Ales for ALS. But there really is, I'm not blowing smoke to anybody. There really is not a group of people that are more generous, kind, and philanthropic than craft brewing. It's crazy. I mean,
There's
they embraced
brewers that
me
are-
doing this. They didn't have to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, someone asks me for this all the time and all the time and all the time. But, my backstory kind of helped, with my sister. But everyone really jumped on board. And when I was doing the videos, I mean, everyone was like, yeah, come do it. Just schedule it. And
Yeah.
someone on the staff was more than happy to pour beer over my head. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It was funny. But anyway.
I think it's like a kind of a great opportunity. Like you guys are raising money for Kennett Square, but also just like you said, you're bringing thousands of people there. Now,
One of our
2 weeks of the year.
policies is you can re-enter. So, and it's been that way since day one. So as long as you have your mug, I probably shouldn't put that out to the public. You can come back in.
So you can go.
We change the
anytime.
design every year, so we'll
Yeah.
catch you if you bring an old mug. But because if you'd rather have lunch uptown during it, it's a long day of drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you do the connoisseur. I have people come to the connoisseur, and then because they're already inside, they can hit like some specialty people who are in the regular session who just didn't want to be in the connoisseur or contacted me too late and I had no space for them. They do their thing like that, and then they leave and go eat uptown, in one of the restaurants. And if after that, if they're so inclined, they can come back and get inside, and come back in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think might be unique in that regard. Maybe not for beer festivals, but I don't know of too many re-entry things once you
No, I think-
walk
No,
out
I
the
don't.
door. So.
Like all of southeastern Pennsylvania, like Chester County, Delaware County, it's like it has amazing craft breweries there. But I think like just the towns themselves and like the environment, it's like a very special like drinking, walking around type of culture. I think like what you guys are doing, like we can leave and enter, it's like kind of showing you like this is just what life is here. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean it's
Nice.
it's not open container on the streets,
not
but
everything on the street, but it's like all the towns are nice little drinking towns.
it's like
Like Phoenixville is.
I mean,
like,
we
has
don't
20
want you to
there.
pull in, at noon and get your ride share at 4:30 and leave.
Yeah.
You want to
You
spend
know?
the time. This
Yeah,
way
yeah.
of day.
So a lot of people walk back uptown, and now that where our location is, Braylock's right around the corner, and then the Creamery's right down the street from them, and that's a cool repurposed
I just
building.
Yeah, it's
told
awesome.
about this. Stones, Liz from Stones just told us about the creamery.
Oh yeah, it's cool.
Beer garden, like, and I know it's very specifically they're doing a lot of things that are trying to attract like a younger audience to their space.
Yes.
So that's something that's like just needed in this space, and like really cool to hear that other people are
Yeah,
going
it's
about that.
it's and it's a refurbishment of an actual milk creamery from the 1910 to 20s or whatever, something like that. That was dilapidated. So it's it's like win-win all the way around. But so between like Braylock and the creamery on that street, that whole area is, even though it's not right downtown, is there's a revitalization thing going on there. There's a small distillery there. There's a tea and coffee shop down there too. And because of that sort of explosion of enterprise along Birch Street, a grant was obtained to do some new sidewalks and street lining because the properties weren't really connected very well. So now there's sidewalks going in all the way down the street, and it's a unique street. There's maybe like 3 residential houses on it, and the rest of it is. So it's actually an area that's kind of zoned industrial, but there's a old 2-story hotel on the corner that was just refurbished called it's like an art hotel. So artists from Philadelphia to Lancaster, it's only 14 rooms. They all got a room,
That's cool.
and they
decorated
painted it however they wanted to,
Oh, that's
whatever they
very
wanted
cool.
to do in the room. Yeah. And so we went to the open house, and it was phenomenal. I mean, just crazy. So cool. So, and it's some sort of like an Airbnb thing, even though it's a motel. You get a code and whatever. There's not even an office there. So, so it's pretty cool too. So that sort of anchors one end, and the creamery anchors the other end, and there's sort of a lot of interesting things starting to happen in between. So, and it's another segment of town, which I think is good. I mean, I think it's good to sort of, it's walkable, so
Yeah.
you could spend part of your time completely downtown on State Street, and then walk down to Birch Street in this area. So
Yeah.
so
So the breweries that are at this place, or at the Brewfest, is it all Pennsylvania local breweries?
no, it's anybody who can distribute in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you're like a really small guy in Delaware, but
Yeah.
don't have a distribution
But
agreement,
generally pretty local.
yeah. I mean, I used to have all the big players, and then, like, weirdly enough, I probably haven't had Dogfish Head in 5 years. Probably same amount of time for Sierra Nevada. It's another little interesting spin when you do something for 27 years. At the beginning, it's the owner of the brewery showing up and bringing their beer and talking about their beer
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah, I read some article. They like Sam Calagione talked to him about making a mushroom
He
beer
made it.
specifically for
Did he
this.
really?
Yeah, he used his chicory stout, and we sent
Wow.
him a giant thing of portobello powder from Phillips Mushrooms in Kennett,
That's so cool.
and they used it in the beer.
How did that beer turn out?
It was you could tell. It had a little, no, it had some
mushroom
earth, like
flavors?
a little earthiness
Little
to
earthy
it.
stout.
Well, I think because it was a portobello too, like a darker
Yeah.
mushroom. I don't recall if it was even because it was powder, if it was a little grainy or from that, but no, it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, at the Mushroom Festival, there's a vendor's mushroom ice cream. It's actually
so
good.
Mushroom
Oh, I
capital of
like
the
it.
world.
Yeah, I like it. So where was I going with that? Oh, so yeah, so everyone brought their own beer, and then all of a sudden, people like Victory and Yards started to grow, and they became wholesale driven.
Yeah.
And I couldn't call Victory and say, come to the event. they're like, go to our wholesaler. And I'm like, well, you tell them what you want to bring. So then I was buying beer through the wholesaler. And that was sort of the middle of the growth of the festival.
Yeah.
That was how I got most of my beer. So at that point, I was probably getting 75% of my beer through distributorships
Yeah.
and 25 from still small breweries. Now it's like completely reversed again. I maybe get 20% of my beer through the 5 county wholesalers.
Yeah.
And 75 or 80% of the beers is coming straight from all the small breweries
Yeah.
that are in the area. So
And you're probably, 28 years is so long. Like, you've seen breweries come and go. You've seen,
Seen
Yeah.
everything.
different, like, people come in, leave, come back. Like, the growth of all these things. Like, you've seen these breweries grow up.
yeah, I mean,
probably very
before
interesting.
before we started this, talking about some things like
Yeah.
breweries, but not their original locations and
Yeah.
stuff like that, because you guys are babies.
Yeah. Yeah, 28 years is a very long time. What you guys had to be, besides Stoudts, probably the first beer fest in the area.
If one of that was a major like outdoor festival, I think
Yeah.
that's probably true. There was a lot of stuff in Philly, like you guys can probably I don't know if you remember like Split Thy Skull.
Nope.
Oh,
See, but that was like at a bar in Philly, but
Okay.
that was like in the 90s.
Okay.
And it was like a Imperial Stout festival, and maybe 100 tickets were sold because it was like in a bar, but
Yeah.
but it was an annual event, so stuff like that was running concurrently with us. But yeah, I don't know anyone who's been going as long, so and I enjoy it. So
something that Mary from your team, I believe, told me is your nickname is the Brewfest King.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that is the moniker and you're aware of that.
Yeah. You probably don't know the reasons why. But,
Can we hear it? Yeah.
well, I think everyone just thinks it's because you created this big thing and whatever. And,
Yeah.
And I think when they finally said you're the Brewfest King, I thought to myself, that probably kind of fits because I have a committee, like a core committee of people that we plan all these events, but I'm sort of like benevolent dictator. Like we get new people all the time on the committee. And,
Yeah.
and they throw out ideas and they're great and everything. And I just say, here's why that doesn't work. So,
But you've been there
so
to see it all.
I usually make the final call on most things.
Yeah.
So I guess it's better than being called a czar, 'cause that might have a bad connotation. But I think from the committee standpoint, that's kind of how it came about. It's like,
Well, clearly your ideas are working. 28 years is insane.
yeah,
Like,
and
the
I
money
have
you
no
guys raised.
background in event planning, but I just had a sense of what I knew. I think was the right thing to do and what would work, and for a while it kind of just sort of went along. It was like got easy and easy, and part of the reason I'm here today probably is because now it is getting harder. It's harder.
It's
You need
become
fresh ideas,
Yeah.
new things, new ways of looking at it, new products.
Yeah.
We're probably going to, maybe not for Winterfest, but definitely in the fall, have a non-alcoholic setup.
Really?
Yeah, we'll get some NA beers. We obviously we have cider and we have mead.
Yeah.
I've been reluctant on the RTDs only because
It almost has to do with
the alcohol
drinking
levels fluctuate. So
Yeah.
I don't mind the idea as long as, again, I control that. I want to be in that 5 to 7% range, so I'm in the beer range.
Yeah.
For those products, because I've seen some that are literally the cocktail.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in 22%.
Buzzball is like 15% or something. crazy. It's like,
Excuse me. Yeah, it's so.
Have you seen like the age over the 28 years, the median age of like the festival, has that just kind of increased rather than like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I think so. It's such a good question because I think when it was motoring along, I sort of had that mindset of like, this thing's great. Someone turns 21 every year. It's like we got just a built-in flow of people.
Yeah.
And it's not really true anymore. And on the back end, probably people my age who loved the festival and came for a lot of years probably don't come anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably can't capture them back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe for like a special anniversary year, like if we make it to 30, people like that might come back.
Mm-hmm.
But they probably aren't going to. So still the continued growth is from the younger segment forward. I mean, we're solidly ensconced in 30 to 40-year-old people, for sure. You know, I would say that's sort of like our money spot, 30 to 50.
I mean, when you guys first started, like the growth of craft beer at that point, like people like Sam and Bill and Ron were like still coming out to these events, and like, their stories were like you were going out to bars and you were teaching people what craft beer was and why they should be drinking it.
Yeah.
And then when you're in those middle years where it's just plugging along, like you've now convinced the general populace of the United States to like drink craft beer. But maybe like you've lost that drive to like, capture that new craft drink, or where you're still relying on that drinker that's now 25, that you have for the next 20 years. But then once they start to age out, now you got to focus back on the younger generation. And like, if we took our eyes off, Gen Z.
And they have completely, you guys know it, obviously. They have completely different reasons for why, not even just what they drink, but why they drink it.
Exactly. It's not like you should drink craft beer. It's like, it's less about the flavor now. And now it's more about like the story or the experience. It's not
because for craft, it was like this is what beer can be.
Exactly.
Like you just can't
And
keep
now everyone
popping.
knows that now,
BMC.
Yeah.
That flavorless whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And that was the growth. I mean, that was the early growth, but now it's it's different.
And Alan was just on here right before, and something that resonates with me a lot. So like, people probably know this, but like I'm 26 years old. I'm in Gen Z. I'm at like the beginning of it. But Alan's saying like, oh, I've tried 2,800 different beers. It's 2,800 different beers, and to me that's like the exciting thing. It's look at all these different types of beers you can try and can experience.
Right.
And I think that's it. And it all becomes the experience part of it. And while the beer is, for some people, the beer is amazing, like it feels like for me, and at least for people I know, it's the experience behind the beer, or maybe even the brewery or whatever. Like it's the experience.
I think beer fests were in the last 5-10 years starting to die. I don't see die off is not the right term, but they're starting to slow down. But I think they are almost starting to pick up a little bit. I think Gen Z is very much an experience-based generation, and they like stuff like this where it's like an all-day. You're going there, and it's different than your normal, just bar experience.
I'm a beer festival. I'm not a music festival.
Yeah.
But I think it's a component that we haven't paid maybe close enough attention to.
Yeah.
Just who it is that's playing for the day and what's the crowd and what do we think.
It's the same thing with bars too. You can't just have the beer now. You have to have the whole hospitality experience.
Yeah, I agree. So it's interesting. But you were talking about festivals. I mean, there's some pretty major players locally that just have folded up.
Yeah.
I don't want to name them, but you probably know who they are.
Oh, Philly Beer Week. I mean, we had them on a couple months ago, and it was like, they basically said it was just like it just kind of died away. Like the leadership left, and then like kind of like the outside breweries stopped showing up, and like if you're not doing the right things, like if they don't have somebody like you that's like kind of making sure all the right things happen every year, and then like it starts to fall off, then like who's there to come save it, but. It's nice that there's...
I'm thinking about getting a T-shirt made that says what my group says to me all the time, don't get hit by a bus.
Words to live by.
I'm like, yeah, that would be bad for more reasons than the Kennett Brewfest. But, yeah. So it's so it's a thing, and I think post-COVID is, had an effect.
Definitely.
And, if you don't mind, I'd love to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
COVID, because we didn't stop, so we didn't have 3,000 people come, but I knew the importance of the event from a
Social aspect.
fiduciary standpoint.
Sure.
And everyone canceled. Like, everything was being canceled. And the only beer thing I was seeing was, so we had the Winterfest in 2020, and then literally 2 weeks later, March 10th or 14th,
Yeah.
the world shut down. So that fall, I said to the organization, I have an idea. I think we'll do something. The only thing I'm really seeing about beer is, you can join this thing. There's going to be 25 people on Zoom, and we're going to sit around and talk about a 6-pack that we send you. And I thought, that's pretty boring, so I hope he didn't do that. But so I said, I've been in this, 20 years at this point, or 22 years. So I said, we're going to make a case of beer, and we're going to make people come to the Brewfest to pick it up. And then they're going to go home, and they're going to have a party in their yard,
Yeah.
backyard Brewfest,
Like
we
a
called
mixed
it.
24-pack?
Yeah, so,
Cool. Love that.
and you can guarantee yourself that you're going to be doing it with people who are safe,
Yeah.
and aren't sick or whatever. So I said, we'll sell 500 cases, and we'll make some money. So I threw it out to the breweries, and I had 24 breweries in like an hour.
Yeah.
And I said, so I called Kennett Collaborative, the executive director. I said, I think we can do 2 cases. So we called one the Brewfest case and one the Kennett case, and I got 24 more breweries for 500 more cases. So we ended up selling 1,000 cases
Wow.
of beer. And we had a setup on the site. You could buy we could buy 2 of each. That was the max that you were allowed to buy. But people drove in, and they showed us their ticket, and we had 2 colors for each case, so we just put it under their windshield, and they drove around a queue, and they came to the end, and we had the one on one side, one on the other.
Nice.
Like, pop your trunk, boom, in and out of the site in like less than 5 minutes.
That's
It was
cool.
like great.
That's so cool, actually.
And we made so much.
The
We didn't make
ultimate
so much money, but we made a lot of money, and we actually did it again then for winter. Probably almost made as much as we would make on that regular fest,
Wow.
having the festival.
Wow.
And it was more of a logistic nightmare because we had to create the cases. So we were out.
Did you make custom
do you
cases?
know Waywood Beverage in Kennett?
Yeah.
Waywood. So they're my best volunteer, to be quite honest. I mean, they're just phenomenal.
One of the best beer distributors in the whole.
Yeah, the way they
Tri-State area.
deliver stuff for us and whatever. So all that beer was delivered there, and Jeff Williamson and we set up this like assembly line we were going to do, and we got all of our volunteers, and we had like a party, and it was like you grabbed a case, snap, 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 snap. You created your 24,
Yeah.
put it down, and then that other group of people re-snapped the tops on them, and we just put them all together. We put all the cases together like that, and it was it's probably my proudest moment of the 28 years, because it was just like,
I mean, you got.
it's like everyone else is just like, oh man, we just lost all this revenue. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, we're not going to lose revenue. I mean, we're going to lose some revenue, but we're not just, there's got to be something we could do. And I could have never done that without the help of 48 breweries, obviously.
But what a
And-
creative way through COVID to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, and people, we got photos, videos from people with a fire going in their yard, and all the beers lined up on their picnic
Yeah.
table, and cheers, and it was so cool. It was like really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. So when I send my information out to brewers, I always add in. Now, no one really picks up on it, but I'm like, this is the 28th consecutive year, because there were no breaks.
Yeah, there's not
So-
many people that can say. People probably put that they just say that because like, oh well, everyone took off during 2020.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. We did
not
not.
everybody.
We did not. And it was a lot of work, but it was so popular that then when we finally got back outside, I probably got 25 or 30 emails that said, "Can you guys do both?"
Yep.
And I'm like, "What do you think I do for a living?" It's like, no, we can't do both. You can't come for 4 hours and then pick up 2 cases of beer,
Yeah.
of different beers to take home. So,
Yeah.
so it was just kind of funny. I just sort of laughed. It was like, I can't believe people were, well, it just was a testament of how much they liked it. But
Yeah.
it was
Uh-huh.
like, this is temporary. You know,
Yeah.
we're back to the regular thing. So,
That's cool though. I mean, it just goes to show, like, you know, somebody like you, just like it goes by, like, you know, it feels like it's so consistent, but like I'm sure there's, you know, not issues like that, but every year there's different things that pop up, and it's just like very smoothly. It seems like you guys have like.
well, in all honesty, I mean, again, and then not so much on that committee, but
Yeah.
I probably got a group of 10 people who have probably been an on-site volunteer for between 15 and 20 of the years.
So there's experts at that point. They can kind of like figure it out.
Yeah, they
help
know
you
exactly what has to happen. So, and they're invaluable. You
Yeah.
know, but they love it. They love doing it too. You know, so it's like it doesn't work. You know, if the community doesn't get involved. And I'd give a shout out to Borough of Kennett Square, the government,
Yeah.
and our police department. I mean, they could have looked at this at day one and said, no.
This is a lot.
This is probably not going to happen. And they've been fantastic. They've been fantastic. And the only time I'm going to do it, knock on wood, you know, everything is going well. Everything is going well. So,
Nice. So I guess if this is Winterfest is happening October 22nd,
February.
February 22nd. I'm sorry, and then Brewfest this year is happening October 4th.
Correct.
Cool.
Correct.
And tickets are still available online for both. Or can you?
Well,
you can't
not
order
yet.
tickets for
Yeah, well,
Brewfest.
probably Brewfest will go on sale like in July.
But Winterfest. Is,
Winterfest have been on sale.
Yeah.
That little DEF CON sold out really fast, but there are regular session tickets available. Yeah.
Nice. Well,
So-
I'm very excited to come to it.
And this is
Oh, you'll
Space
love it.
Cadet's first
Yeah,
pour.
you'll
My
find-
first
That's
pour. It's
cool.
gonna be
That's good
exciting.
too.
You know, like there's a lot of beer fest. Like what you're saying, like a lot of people like just aren't there anymore. And I was very hesitant to like kind of like. Yeah, like I don't have a lot of free time. Like I'm building this business by myself, and like
Yeah.
you know I'm still making money other ways, and like I can't just take like a whole Saturday off to pour beer if it doesn't make sense for me. But like something like this, it absolutely makes sense for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like I waited like all right, this is something that I definitely want to get involved with. So
And as we get a little bit closer, we start to do social media features on like individual breweries.
nice,
So you'll be one of those.
cool.
We
Looking
try
forward
to
to
hit
that.
everybody, but and then the other thing is the sooner for me, the better if you know what beer you're going to bring.
I do know.
Uh,
I got
what-
it.
We'll
Four-pack of
talk
it
about
after
it.
this, after
Okay,
this, so.
we'll talk about it
You
later.
can tell
But
me if you
but
like
yeah,
that.
you know, because all that helps sell the event too.
Definitely.
And people really do want to know what you know, it's like, they brought their flagship. It's like, well, it's a really good beer.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, why do you think it's their flagship?
I think the,
'Cause
be-
everyone
the,
likes
be- the better thing now, though, is there's just, and again, this sort of morphs across the life of the event. There's so much more appreciation for like 4 to 5% delicious beer.
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah,
And it makes me happy.
yeah.
I mean, I'm very happy about that. But
Yeah, especially an event like yours where you want to try volumes. Like you go in there, you
Uh-huh.
get the 2-ounce pours. You want to try like as many things as possible.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the point of the Brewfest.
yeah, of course. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. So we can find you at Kennett Brewfest
.com.
.com at Kennett Brewfest on Instagram.
I believe it's underscored though. It's like at Kennett_Brewfest
Okay.
on Instagram. We have
Yep.
a Facebook page.
Cool.
Winterfest does not have a separate Facebook page. We actually thought it might be confusing to people,
Yeah,
so
but when you
so
go
everything
on there,
falls
it's
under
pretty
that.
obvious.
But yeah, but there is Kennett Winterfest.com as
Yeah.
a website, and KennettBrewfest.com as a separate website.
Cool.
Okay.
And you can go to Kennett. Was it Collective, right?
Collaborative.
Kennett Collaborative also. They have all
Yeah,
the
all the
there as well.
information's there. So if you go to Kennett Collaborative, I believe though that might be Well, just type that in. It could be a
Okay.
.org. I'm not sure if it's .org or .com.
Okay. And then alesforals.com also. Check that out if you're a brewery. You're not
Yeah,
doing it,
yeah,
just
check
jump
that
on
out. Exactly. If you're a brewery and you listen to this, you should be doing it. It's really easy to do.
Free hops, great
yeah,
cause.
I appreciate it.
Get on it.
And you'll get a lot of play from us too. So I mean, everyone who does this, we do posts across our festival social media
Yeah.
about you being in Ales for ALS.
Cool.
So the organization was nice enough. Again, benevolent dictator. I kind of insisted
King,
that
king.
we have to be able to post these things about
Yeah.
Ales for ALS on the site. And they're like, of course,
Yeah.
of course. So yeah, so that's all keeping me busy.
Nice. Well, I'm very excited next couple weeks. But Jeff, thank you for coming on.
You know.
Taking some time, and you can follow us at the Brew That Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube.